This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, welcome everybody, all the Torah Anytime viewers. Thank you for watching. You know, I have the zechus to giving many speeches already in different places, in different shuls, and I had a zechus to meet a lot of Gedolim, Baruch Hashem. And I was always nervous, but as nervous as I am right now, I'm going to admit to all the viewers, being next to Rabbi Beller, I wasn't nervous in a long time. I am very, very nervous. It's a big zechus. It's a big merit and honor to be next to a Holocaust survivor, Rabbi Shmuel Beller. Rabbi Beller, for those who don't know him, is a huge inspiration. Huge inspiration. It gives me a lot of chizuk every time I see him in the shul. It gives me tremendous chizuk. Seeing him, watching him, hearing what he has to say. And I appreciate every time we had many conversations in the shul. I appreciate it, and every time you sit over stories of different things, every word you say, Rabbi Beller, I take with such listening ears, and everything goes inside the heart, and it makes a tremendous impact. Every word that you tell the generation, for this generation, the next generation, we cherish every word you have to say, every single word with no exaggeration. So I am very nervous, and I want to thank Hashem for giving me the zechus, the honor, to interview Rabbi Beller, and I will try my best. You know, it's a big avodah. It's a big undertaking. It's a big responsibility what I'm doing right now. I'm going to admit it. But it's my zechut. At the same time, it's my honor to do this, and hopefully I'm not going to mess up. And B'ezrat Hashem, I'm going to ask the right questions, and it should be only a ta'elis, and everyone should gain from it, including me. First question, Rabbi Beller, is first of all, which town in Europe did you grow up in?
I was born and lived in the town of Oswiecim. Oswiecim was Auschwitz. I lived about a kilometer away from the camps where it all started. This area started as a killing camp. However, it became a forced labor camp, and it was moved to another area, it's not far away from in a closer village, and the other side of the town was called Brzezinka or Birkenau. Birkenau was the camp where all the people came in there to be killed, gassed and killed and burned. I in 1942 I saw Goering, Gable and Hess. I was a young boy yet. I still lived in my town there, in the same street. And I saw Goering, Gable, and Hess pass by with an open car. And I think they went in this direction there to where it was started. I think this was the time when they decided to make Auschwitz what it became of.
Wow. So you really saw the Rasha, the evil, Yimach Shemo. You saw him.
I saw them passing by. This was early part of 1942.
Wow, okay. Unbelievable.
Before it was a military camp.
So you grew up in Auschwitz.
I grew up there, and I lived in an area which is about maybe a kilometer away from the camp.
Okay, now I wanted to ask, Rabbi Beller, you said before the Shoah happened, before the destruction, the Churban happened, the Holocaust, the skies were red for a tkufa?
Right. Not everybody knows this, but I, as a young boy, maybe 2 weeks or so, I saw, and a lot of people in my town, the skies were fiery at night, one night. And next day, the people were going of our town were crying. They're expecting something bad. However, we saw already that the Germans are preparing to attack Poland. We already knew about it. But we hoped it would pass. However, it started there. And the German came in September 1, 1939, without any stoppage. They came into our town. They just walked in. The Poles ran away.
Well, That's a terrifying thing that the skies were red. Unbelievable.
Everybody knows that. I saw it.
For 2 weeks around, there was? How long?
About a week or 2 weeks before it all started.
Wow.
One night.
That's a pachad. That's very scary.
And people were scared. They were crying. The Jewish people were going in the streets and they were crying because we knew something was coming, but we didn't know what. And we know from Germany something's coming. But at this time when this was, people were going, mamish, you could see people walking in the street was crying. The town was a small town, was about 6,000 Jewish people lived in the town. There was the Rinnek, what's called like the marketplace, and there was the people. I lived a little across the water. There was a water passing by, was called Sola. And I lived on the other side. The street which took to the bars, which was then, and it became the concentration camp. However, this was not the concentration camp of the killing. The killing was in Birkenau, which was on the other side of the when you come up the bridge, you went straight to the end. And when you wanted to go to this camp where I lived, where it started, you had to make a left turn.
Wow, unbelievable. How old were you at the time?
When the war broke out, I was 12 years, almost to the day.
12 years old. Now, I have another question. Obviously, the whole Hitler, Yamach Shemo, and the Nazis, it didn't happen overnight. What was the feeling before the Holocaust actually happened, a few years before? What was the feeling in the air, in the shuls, in the grocery stores, in the markets? What was the feeling? What were people saying?
We were afraid. We knew something is coming. We didn't know when. We know something. People were going to the streets and crying. However, I don't know if you know it, this was still September 1999 was where they conquered, where they entered to conquer Poland. But we were still there in our town. We lived in our town. However, the Jews were removed from their houses, from their houses. They didn't have houses, they had apartments, and they were given over to the Polish people. They took over our apartments, and we were thrown down to the basement, the cellars. There wasn't basement. There was no wood or anything. There was just dirt floors, and the Jews were put down there. So it was mamish. The people knew what was coming, and they see what was coming, and it was going gradually.
Now, was there like a big asifa of saying Tehillim or let's see these type of events?
You couldn't make asifas because you couldn't make any gatherings. The Germans would see any gatherings, and then there was at the people, each individual did praying whatever was able, but not as a gathering.
Oh, so the Nazis said you're not even allowed to have gathering for a couple of years already.
Not that they did this. We were afraid. They didn't ask. They answered everything. They answered, but we were afraid to do any. The gatherings of people. If they find gathering of people, they would kill.
Wow, that is terrifying. That is terrifying. Now, let's say the Rabbanim at the town. Which rabbi, which Rav do you remember next to you at the time?
There was at that time a Rebbe, a Sanzer Eidem. He was the Rabluzer Schwitziner. He was an Eidem by the Sanzer Ruf. He was an Eidem. And he was on the. There was a Rabbi. Bombach was the Ruf from the Stuart. He was the rabbi from the Stuart. He was the rabbi. And there was a Bezdin also in there. There was a slaughterhouse. People used to buy the chickens for every before the weekend, like Wednesday, Thursday, and they took him to the was like on the hill. We had to go down, and there was a little broken house there. There were a few shochtim there, 2 shochtim, and they were slaughtering the chickens for the people, for Shabbos, for Yontif. When he came by Yontif, was, people had to buy the chickens earlier because we didn't have refrigeration, but they had to take the chickens what they bought from the Gentiles. They brought them every Wednesday or Tuesday. They brought them in from the villages, and the people, they came into the street where I was living there, and they bought from them, and they took it to the Thursday I think was a slaughterhouse. So 2 shochtim there, they were slaughtering the chickens, and they take them home and they do whatever they had to do.
But the Rabbanim, let's say this Rebbe, the Rabbanim, what were they saying on the Shabbos drasha or during the week when the Holocaust was about to happen? What were they saying?
Where I lived, this was on the area close to the camps. There was a Sanzerei, I don't remember his name. During the war, there was no gathering. Nothing. There was no gathering. Where first they destroyed the shuls right away, they burned them, so there was no gathering. But the people itself, neighbors saw we were going around in terrified, because we knew what they immediately started to. There was a Kultus Gemeinde, and they gave orders to the Kultus Gemeinde, and they had to do whatever the Germans asked them to do. So there was the Kultus Gemeinde. They asked them for money. They had to go. They knew who the rich people is. They had to go to the people. You have to give them money. If they didn't want to give, they would give them over to the Germans. But everybody gave because they was afraid. If they give them to the Germans, they would kill them. There was one time it was going on hanging. They were hanging people.
Wow.
For nothing, they were hanging people. So one time was a rich man, and I don't know what it was exactly, but probably he didn't want to give the money, whatever. So they took him to be hung.
A Jew.
Yeah, of course. So he had a brother who was mentally sick, a brother. He put up salary. He put up a lot of money by the government, Jewish government, and they took the brother never to the gallows. I saw this brother passing by. He was dancing. He was like he was retarded.
Oh wow!
And they took him to gallows. To gallows, we had to wash it. So we went to the gallows. He was standing and dancing there, and never. Put the string around and that's it.
They made you watch it? People getting hanged?
Of course, we had to watch all the killings, we had everything to watch. They put us to watch these things. Everybody was put out. The men, women, and children.
Wow, it's a pachad. So you were 12 years old, around?
Not around. Opposite the day. 12 years old. When the war broke out. September 1, 1939.
How did you hear the war broke out? What was the first time you heard?
We were afraid. We knew something is going on, that because we were heard that they're preparing all the ammunition, everything to the Polish border. I lived about 30 kilometers away from the border. Poland had a long border with Germany. And I lived about 30 kilometers away. So we heard, we saw it actually, what's going on. So it was a lot of praying, a lot of crying, a lot of people going who were terrified.
So 12 years old. So if I may ask, I'm sorry for asking. So the bar mitzvah. What happened to bar mitzvah? Where were you?
I was bar mitzvah about a year into the war. Now, we went back to where we lived first we were running away when the Germans came. We were trying to run away, but we couldn't work. There was no cars, there was no trucks, there was nothing. We were walking. We walked. My father was away already in a labor camp. So my mother, with the three little children, she walked. We were walking up to Krakow, which is about 40 kilometers. Now it's to walk 40 kilometers a lot with children.
Okay. And there's someone.
I was
so you're walking with your mother to Krakow.
Yeah, we were walking with my mother to the, and there when we came back walking we walked to Benjin, and in Benjin the Jewish government, they each had a kehillah, so they put us up with other Jewish families. They had to do it. And we stood that we get the ration bread, and we got potatoes and so on and so forth. And we stood there my father was taken away already to a labor camp, but my mother, brother and sister were there, and then they let us go back to our town. So we came back to our town. Already, we didn't have our apartments. We were already put in the cellars where the goyim lived there. We were there for about 2 years, wow. And the situation was very bad. Food was scarce, and we were rationing. They took the Jewish able men to work, but in the beginning they took him to where the concentration camp started. So they took men from our town to work there to start to build up the concentration camp. However, at this time already, they had found anything, so they killed right away. So they had a small crematorium, and they killed these people. Those people who were killed were cremated there, and they sold the ashes in a little box to the families. They had to pay 20 zlotys for it.
What? So they killed people, they burned them, and if the family wanted the ashes, they had to pay for it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Much
worse than these things happen. They hung people. They had a son had to go hang his father. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that. Yeah. What does that mean?
Huh?
What happened?
They verurteilt somebody to be hung in the camp, so they took him to the gallows. And he had a son also in the same camp with him. Was in the labor camp already. They made the son go to the gallows and put this on his neck and drop kick this. Mind you, the son was a retarded boy. We had to stay and watch how they're doing it. There was a sister, brother also in the camp. There were a few brothers and sisters there. And one was, they condemned him to be hung. The sister had to stay there. And watch how the brothers being hung.
Wow, that's unbelievable. No matter how much we learn about the Holocaust, there's so much more. There's more information.
Right.
So again, back to the bar mitzvah. So let's say a pair of tefillin. Did you able to get a pair of tefillin?
I had a pair of tefillin. No, from my father's tefillin I had. We had on the hiding. We were davening in a house by somebody. Only Shabbos we were davening there. A few people. One day, one Shabbos, what happened is, the German used to pass by they walked on the street, watching there, and so one day he's suspecting that something's going on in this house there. He saw people go in and out. This was still before the ghetto yet. This was not the ghetto yet. So he went into the hall, and he heard some noise. He opened up the door, and the people were sitting, were davening there, wow. with the Sefer Torah open by the laning. They got scared, to tell you what. I was there that time.
You were there at that minute?
I was there, yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, some miracle happened. I don't know what had happened. He told them, stop it in German. Mach das nicht mehr, don't do it anymore, and stop it right away. I don't want to say, I come back and sit now a few minutes, I want to see everything, all you have gone. As a miracle, you could have taken all, shoot them.
Could have shot them all right away.
All of them shot, yeah. A German was passing by in the street there in a German uniform because they're watching this. They were watching the area there.
So there was real mysterious nefesh for the Sefer Torah and the minyan.
Absolutely.
Was this scary making the minyan? Like, how did they do it? Who was in charge?
Was scary. Of course, it was scary. But we know somebody was watching outside. If I didn't see any German to go in it, and he saw this man, this German, because they were patrolling it. They saw this man passing, going into the road there, and he went out. He followed this man, and he heard some noise. He went open up the door. You can imagine what happened. They were scared like anything. But Baruch Hashem, they didn't do nothing to the people. They just started to step it. He did nothing to the people.
Wow, so it was a nace. It was all a miracle.
All a nace.
Such mysterious nefesh for this, to hear the Sefer Torah. Now, I'm going to ask another question. Being that you saw all the horrible things, and even for a few minutes talking to you, sons hanging fathers, it's horrible. No words can express the tzar, the tragedy. Being that you went through so much, can you tell me one story of real mesirut nefesh of any Jew, boy or girl, father, mother, that went out of their way to do a mitzvah?
I wouldn't know to tell you about doing a mitzvah, but I know that there was a rather mesirut nefesh. They gave their lives to save a Jew. Now I'll give you an example. I worked in one camp that I worked there, and one of our men there worked on the Baustelle. We worked there, and he found a piece of wire on the ground. We had camelas. Camelas is like a pishka, that we had our soup that we got, and our coffee, black coffee, whatever, all this one with a string hanging like this. That's what we had. This what we had all. This was for everything. So this man, someday broke his wire, whatever he had there. So he found on the Baustelle where we worked a piece of wire. He found the wire, so he picked up the wire, and he wanted to put it on the camela, should be able to carry it. It was like this, and here was the camela. We made a hole in the. One German passed by. He says, "You know what you did?" He looks at me, don't know what. You committed sabotage. What is sabotage? You used an item that's supposed to be for the war machine, a piece of wire for your own self. For this is death penalty.
Hey.
So wait a minute, you're not finished yet. What happened is, this German, he was an Obermaster there, he reported it to the Jewish head of the group that worked there. There were about maybe 100 people he was under him. And he reported him. He says, "Go, when you come back to camp, you should report it, that he committed sabotage." No, he came back to camp. He spoke to the head of the Lagerführer, which was the head of the camp, a Jew, and he asked him, what should he do? So he says, forget about it. And he forgot about it. Next day he comes to work, so he went over to the assessment, because we were watched by the assessment there. And he asked him, was this thing reported? He said, no. He came back to camp. They took this man, the Vorarbeiter, and they took him, and they took this man that picked up the wire, right, and they put him down and started beating them murderously. They both died from Schlugzar. They took with the pants and they put him in a concrete round close. It was very close where they died there.
So they beat them to death.
They beat the mamish to death. Yeah. It was the man who didn't report it, and the Vorarbeiter who didn't report to the Germans.
Right, and they were both Jews. They did not want to snitch on each other.
I'm talking to all Jews. The Vorarbeiter, everything was Jews,
right.
But they put the Jews ahead to watch. Now, every Vorarbeiter was responsible for his group. He had a group, maybe 100, maybe 200, some bigger one. There was a kappa above them. We had a bigger group. So, and then there was a block. Elster was the head of the block. There was a block, was maybe a few hundred people there. Every room had 30 beds. 3 beds, one on top of the other. One room like this had about 30 people sleeping in this one room. One on top of the other.
30 people. Unbelievable.
It was a bed.
Right.
And 3 beds, one on top of the other. One bed close to each other.
Now, another question. There's a lot to ask. Was there blankets? Was there any blankets or no?
Yeah, we had a blanket, yes. But cotton blanket, yeah.
Cotton blanket. Oh, so they beat him to death. So the mysterious nefesh says that the Jew did not snitch on a Jew.
The mattress was straw. We had straw. Right. We were living on straw. And then the pillows was also straw. We didn't have anything. And the covers was sack.
Now, was there anybody in your room?
Yeah.
Do you remember anybody had a sitter, had a pair of tefillin?
Good question. There was one man. We had beds, 3, one on top of the other. 3 beds, bunk beds. There was one boy. He slept on top of the bed of the team, and he somehow, how he got, I don't know how, or he had a pair of tefillin. He got early in the morning before we went to work. He put on every day for a period of time. Then they took it away from him because each time we moved from one camp to the other camp, we had to take off our clothes, and they gave us different clothes. Now I had a case when they moved him from one camp to the other, so there was a pile of clothes. From now the clothes came, we had to change completely, everything off. So this clothes came, where it came from? It came from Auschwitz. In Auschwitz, they took off the clothes. All the men, before they sent them to gas chambers, they had to take off all the clothes, all the men, women, children, everybody. And they were put on a pile there. And they sent it to our camp, a bunch of this clothes. So I had to change clothes. So I picked up a jacket and a pair of pants. And that's it. I didn't know if whoever it came from. One day when I worked on the Baustelle, I worked on the place where we worked there. So I wanted to take off my jacket, and there was a sleeve here like this, and I wanted to check my sleeve. I wanted to take it off. So when I took to take off, I felt there's one piece here stiff, and
there's something there.
Yeah, something stiff there. I didn't realize what it may be. I didn't think about it, but I was afraid to open it on the Baustelle, because if I opened up the Baustelle, then they catch me, they will have a problem. So I went to camp, and when nobody see it, I opened it up. I found something there. What do you think I found?
What'd you find?
What do you think I found?
I don't even want to guess.
I found $50 bill.
Oh, wow.
Now, yes, how does a $50 bill get in there? Probably. I said, probably that's true. A mother... the boy was sent away to camp, and she told the boy, "You should know, my son, that I put you in there $50 bill when you come to camp. If you need something, you could do something with it." Now, I was afraid to use it because they catch me with the money, they would kill me. Where did you get the money? They would. So I worked with different nationalities on the bar.
But what would you do with the $50?
Wait, I'll tell you. Yeah. What do I do with it? I wouldn't do nothing with it. I can't do nothing. I was afraid to hold it even. Right. So I worked with with two Polish guys, and I told them, look, I found this. I didn't tell them where I got it. I found it. Give me some bread for it. He says, it's money, it's worth money. He says, he gives me a bread like this. I said, look, this is a lot of money. It's 50. It's 50. So he gave me another bread. I was happy. I got rid of it and finished.
It was very scary, though, to even offer.
Of course I was scary.
Wow.
They catch me, they will shoot me.
Wow.
Of course I was scary. But that's it. I got rid of it, and I got some piece of bread for it.
Wow, so that was
The bread was a karam tzis. It's no stam food.
Wow, unbelievable. Now, another question, Rabbi. Thank you so much. There's so much information. I have millions of questions to ask over here. Out of all the years, can you try to tell me one case, I'm sure there was a few, but one case where you really saw the Yad of Hashem, the hand of Hashem, showing you like, I'm here, I'm with you?
There was a lot of cases, but I'll tell you one case, okay, more. You know, we worked on a Baustelle. And this was, they had gases or whatever this was. They built for the military, for the war machine. So the British aeroplanes passed by always between 11 and 12 practically every day, and they bombed this Baustelle. So one day, I went into the. I was on the we were expecting it, that the witches were coming, and I went. The Goyim went to they hid in a bunker. For us, they wouldn't let us in. So what happened? I was with me and other two boys. We went outside. We couldn't go nowhere. And the bombs were falling. We were about maybe 50 meters away. We were standing almost empty. The bomb fell in where the bunker is, and we survived.
Oh my gosh! You hear this? Unbelievable!
We survived.
That's a real nice.
Was,
so the Goyim were hiding in the bunkers. Right? Didn't let the Jews.
They wouldn't let us in. They wouldn't let us in.
And ends up being they got bombed.
They got bombed.
Oh yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah. I always think of it as how our nesses was, how mamish you could see
unbelievable. Now, the hand. Can you show us the numbers on your hand? So the numbers, everyone, has another nace over here. The numbers are
184805.
184805. And what is the gematria of?
1 and 8 is 9 and 4 is 13 and 8 is 21 and 5 is 26.
What's 26?
What's 26? You tell me.
26 is Hashem's name.
Again, more. 1 is Aleph, and 8 is Ches, and Dalit is Aleph, Ches, Dalit is Echat, right?
4 is Dalit.
And more. 1 and 8 is 9 and 4 is 13 Shloshas and Midas, and 8 and 5 is 13 Shloshas.
Unbelievable.
70 years I didn't know about it. I'm here with his father. So one boy I put on the tefillin, he says, Mr. Bella, you have the Hashem's name. I look, I got more than that, I got a lot of things.
That is unbelievable.
After 70 years I found it out.
So the numbers that he has in his arm was the gematria of
gematria. And then 2 Shloshas and Midas.
Right, Hashem's name. How do you say gematria in English? Numerical, right? It's called numerical values. Unbelievable. Can we just show your hand one more time to the camera, and I'll say the numbers. The number is 184805.
Right.
So 184 is gematria with the letters Echad, Aleph, Ches, Daled. And then if you take the numbers 805, it's numerical values, gematria 13. 13 of Yud Gimel Midot HaRachamim, 13 attributes that God has of mercy. So Rebbe, a Holocaust survivor, had these numbers in his hand the whole time, which gave him as a sign, a hint, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu literally has Hashem's name on his arm. Unbelievable.
Right.
Now, another question that I have. The day that it was written on you, can you explain that day, that whole moment of how the numbers are written?
Yeah, we were. I was there in a Zwangsarbeitslager, forced labor camp. Now, forced labor camp was worse than the concentration camp. I'll explain you why. First of all, forced labor camp was smaller camps. We wore the civilian uniforms with the Star of David cut out front and the back. They had more supervision of us. They were closer, so we had to work harder in everything. Then there came a time they moved us to a concentration camp. In a concentration camp, we had to took off all our clothes, the civilian, and they gave us the striped uniforms. Now, in the concentration was a little easier. The simple reason is because the Zwangsarbeitslager was small camps, and they had a lot of supervision over us, and they watched us, and they gave us a lot of trouble. Also, there was the ones who were watching us, the Germans. They were called Volksdeutschen. They came from occupied Polish, Czechoslovakia, Hungarian, in all these countries where they conquered. They came. They were the Volksdeutschen. They were Germans. Lived in the other side in the other countries. They were Reshuim. They were very bad. They were worse than the German itself. So I had these as a watching course. This guy who came from Sudetengebiet, which was just Czechoslovakia. He was a very, very, very Arushimerish. He made us work extremely hard.
And he wasn't even German.
He was German. A Volksdeutsche means he was a German in another country, but then he became German completely. Mm-hmm. He was such a Rush, now I tell you. We work under him, me and another boy my age and an older man, and there was 2 Russian PWs. We had to pick up a pipe. We built a building for the war machine, which they were supposed to do gases or all kind, whatever they wanted for the war machines. Now, the pipes were about 10 feet long, and they were heavy steel. We had to pick up 4 people had to pick up the pipe, 3 to 4 people. So one time, he wanted us to move us. We should move the German. He was from the Volksdeutschen. He was from Czechoslovakia. He made us move this pipe from one area to where it was supposed to be locked up to be installed into the building. We picked up the pipe and we start picking it up. 4 people we couldn't pick it up. Finally we got it up. We had it up. There was 2 Russian PWs. The German took away the 2 Russian PWs from the pipes. Me and another boy had to carry it. How we carried it by maybe 10, 15 feet, I don't know. We were able there, we dumped it. Now a miracle. You know, it's nes b'toch nes. We was a group that from our men, worked under a German. He was the head of the entire Baustelle, the head, chief engineer. His name was Obermaster Schäfer. He was a tzaddik shaik moye. He saved our lives. Let me tell you what he did. We went over, me and the other boy went over to him, and the other Jew. We told him, Herr Obermeister, this and this what happened. He made us carry like this. We couldn't carry it. He told us like this, haben Sie keine Angst? Kommen Sie mal zu mir, ich gebe andere Arbeit. Don't be afraid. Come to me, I'll give you other work. Wow. A head of an entire Baustelle. So what happened? We went over the next morning, we came over to him when we entered to work. You know what he gave me? He says, go to this area there. There's an elevator. You are going to run the elevator. You push the button, the elevator up and down, up and down. This he gave me, and he gave the other boy, the other man, he gave him go around and collect all these parts that fall down from this, go collect and bring him to this spot. And then he said, if Sie haben keine Arbeit, Sie haben nicht was zu tun, kommen Sie mal zu mir, gehen Sie mal behind the pipes. He said, if you don't have what to do, go behind the pipes there and stay there till you have to go back to camp. Obermeister Schäfer, Zechoinu Levucha.
Wow. And he was the top
he was
German.
The top of the entire Baustelle. Wow. The top engineer.
Wow.
Yeah, and
that's a real nest. That's a real miracle.
Just one in a million, probably.
Wow. No words.
Me and other people that we worked on them, we have to thank him for surviving, because we couldn't continue working like this.
Right. So now I have three more questions. I know we're running out of time. I wish it could be. I know I can be a Rabbi Bell. I could be here for 24 hours.
I can give you 10 hours also.
Oh, Baruch Hashem, that's good. Just back to the question. The numbers. How was it when it was? Can you tell us a little bit of the story when it was actually written? The numbers. Who did it? How was it?
There was a line. We were 6,000 people, so it was a line of our men sitting on a chair. There was tables, and we came one to each other. Don't answer, don't worry. And we had to go like this, and took a pen, like a pen was.
And the hand was on the table? What was it?
Yeah.
Right.
And you like don't answer it. Injection, like you make an injection. Each point is like a stick with a needle.
Ooh.
This was all with a stick with a needle. You couldn't keep your mouth shut. You couldn't.
When it was 6,000 people.
It was steep. There was a line with a long table with different guys doing this.
My gosh. Oh my gosh.
One came to the other, Right. So we were in a Zwangsarbeitslager, which is a forced labor camp, and we went to concentration camp. So that's what happened there.
Okay, now another question. I know that your father went to labor camp even
before
earlier in the beginning. Sorry for asking, Rabbi Bella, but it's for the generation. What was the last thing? I'm sorry for asking. What was the last thing your mother told you?
I'll tell you what happened. I worked for a German in the ghetto. I had it pretty good. What was the good? I worked for him. He had a factory manufacturing uniforms for the German military. So in the morning, afternoon, I worked in the factory, and the other time I worked in his house. I cleaned his house. I locked up coal and wood and whatever for water, because there was no, there was heated by coal and wood, and the water had to log up. He lived on the 4th floor. I had to log it all up to his apartment. I had pretty good for this simple reason. I worked in their homes, and the women there, they were more lenient. So whatever they left food, they gave it to me. For me, this was a calm seas, because I was able to take it home, the leftover, and bring it home from my mother and brother, sister. My father was away in camp. So this was a big help with me.
So when was the last time you saw your mother, dear?
Happened to me is that I worked for this camp, this German, and he sent me across this. I was just telling you, across the street was a lumber yard, and he sent me across the street. There was a lumber yard. Says, go over to this man there. There was a Jewish man there, and tell him I want this and this tool, a hammer, whatever. I don't remember what it was. I went over and says, my master wants you to give me this tool. He didn't want to give me. He says, go back, tell him I'm not here. I went back to tell him out here. He was standing by the window watching me talking to him.
Oh, yeah.
He closed the door,
right.
And he started to beat me mercilessly. My head was blown up, I was bleeding. Then finally he opened up the door, threw me down out of this. There was a little water passing by. I went down and washed myself up. Now I had a problem. If they Germans that the watching us, the military, the SS, would see me blowing up, they would ask questions. What I did was sabotage. They would kill me. So by walking back to the camp, we went 5 people in a line, was a few thousand people. So I was hiding between the boys, in other words, in a way that the Germans would not see me, that I was so beaten up. If they would see me, they would ask questions, and I would be shot. So by miracle, I got through and got into the camp. When I get into the camp, already, the Judenelster, they already took care of me to help me to wash up and then to help me. And they let me work in the camp for a few days till this all healed. The Germans should not see.
So, what do you know what happened to your mother, or any information?
Yes, I do know. I know my father was taken away to camp. But in 1943, when it was the end of the cleaning up the ghetto in Benjin, Sosnovyets, and one of our neighbors worked in the ghetto till the last day, cleaning the ghetto up for Mother June. So he met my mother, she was there, so she told him, if he ever finds me alive, to tell me this was the last day. They said, now, about the end of all July, this way I hold my Yutzat. I hold Yutzat Chovtes Tamis, which mamish to tomorrow probably so.
So your neighbor saw your mother in the ghettos?
No, they didn't call. He saw her passing by. There was no telephones.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
And he saw in the ghetto. He was there the last day to clean up the ghetto. What was to clean it up? To help to send away the rest people who were still there, to put them in the wagons and send them away to Auschwitz to be killed.
So your mother saw him, and she told him, "Tell my son, if you ever meet my son Shmuel, this and this day, I'm dying." Wow.
Tell him to call him. They should call me back later. Whoever this.
Wow, that's also a big thing that you know your mother's yard site then.
Approximately. I don't know, because she was taken on the cattle train to the gas chambers. Yeah.
Right. Unbelievable.
Think of something. They bring the people at night or by day. They put them out. They put them in the cattle trains. Men, women, and children. Men, women, and children, and they close the doors. No air, no food, no water, no nothing. And they were put on their wagons like this. They come to Auschwitz. I was not there. I was already in camp. But I know it. I saw once the transport going by. And they take him and they send him away. Now, they bring him to Auschwitz, take him out of tell him to take out, and they put him into the gas chamber. They have to walk. I have pictures of this, where they walk them to the gas chambers. They tell them, you're going to take showers and you're going to go to work. The people were going into the chambers. They were walking, men, women, and children. Now, they suspected something, but they had to go. They go in. Finally, everybody is in. A lot of people didn't want to go in. They had vicious dogs. The dogs were chasing them in. They were biting them. They weren't going in. They go in. They close the door. And here comes the gas comes. Can you imagine that? It's unbelievable. They were gassed. I was not there. I was already in camp. But I know my mother, Leshulim, because this man, Chaim Rabbi, he survived the war. He told me that he met her in the last days before Ben sent away. He met her, and she told him what's going to happen. You know, the Germans didn't do the jobs themselves. They made the Jews do it. There were the Jewish police. There was the Jewish government. They gave orders to the Jewish government, and they had. At the end, after they cleaned out the ghetto, they took all the people, the heads of the government, and they put them on a wagon, and they sent them away to Auschwitz.
Okay. Another question. At that time, right before the Holocaust, it was when the whole Israel movement started, the Zionist movement of Eretz Yisrael and everything. Being that you were inside the ghettos and inside literally the Holocaust and everything, did you talk about going to Eretz Yisrael or any that ever came up?
I want you to know, the only thing that we had in mind, we had a family, brother, sister, and everything. Nothing goes over my mind how to get this piece of bread. We are so dehumanized. It's so nothing kept. I think today, how could I be so dehumanized? Nothing meant anything. Not I wouldn't meant. I didn't think about anything. How to get this piece? The hunger was so great.
Right. So Eretz Yisrael wasn't even in the mind.
Nothing.
Nothing.
And you didn't even. You forgot that you had parents. You forgot that you had brother, sister. Nothing. You forgot. The mind was twisted.
Now, did anybody speak? Another question. Did anybody, let's see, in the bunks, anybody speak about Mashiach or anything?
No, Mashiach. Wait. The bread, the piece of bread was everything. I tell you, we slept the bunks, 3 beds, one on top of the other. Had one young man, he slept on the top. Every morning he put on tefillin there and the hiding. I don't know how he got the tefillin in there, but he did that. So every morning was dark already, put on the tefillin forward again. I know he did it.
Okay. Now another thing. Can you name one friend? Is there one person there that you became very, very close with? One friend that survived the war? That you were with them in the bunks?
Yeah, there was a few of them which survived. But they were, they went after the war when we were liberated. I was critical. I got typhus, So I was in the hospital for 3 months. That time was the Klosenberg Rebbe. It was I was away from Yiddishkeit completely. I did not know from Yiddish. I didn't want to know anymore. I was away. Almost 6 years I was away. But the Hungarian boys there, and they was put in with the Hungarian boys, and they were very nice to me. They were talking to me, and they tried to convince me I should go. I pushed them away always. One time what happened, that they made a circle. I was eating a trefe sandwich. They made that circle, the boys around, like maybe 20 boys. And they say to me, Shmuel, my name is Shmuel. He says, throw it away. It's enough. I said, get out from me, I don't want to know. But they put so much pressure on me. They had me, tight. And they dragged me up. The Kosenberg Rebbe was not tight there. They brought me up to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe put Rabbi Margulis from Torah to Himel, and another man, they put him to work on me, to bring him back. The Rebbe was talking to me myself. That's a little by little I came back. I threw away the sandwich that time. I was starting to get back to Yiddishkeit.
Wow. So the friends put pressure on you to come back to Yiddishkeit?
Hungarians, not Polish boys. Polish boys were awake. I don't know how many Polish boys came back to Yiddishkeit. I met friends after not long ago in Florida. Kaschkettel mit Saden, Bäckchen mit dem Moor. Sogar Ben Sonnenschein, what's happened to you? I don't want to know about it anymore. In Florida I met him.
So I have a question for you.
Also.
I have a question for you. How is it that you're so strong then?
It's not that I was strong. I wasn't strong. It was a Siyata D'Shmaya, and the Rebbe put a lot of pressure on me. The Rebbe and the Buchim, they were so nice to me, you know. And then, you know, I remind myself where I'm coming from. I remind myself, so the mind was working on me, you know. And it was a Siyata D'Shmaya. A lot of influence from the boys and the Rebbe's going to had a lot of influence.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much, Rabbi Beller. Thank you, Shulbar. I wanted to, can I get a bracha? Please.
Zan mechaven Shem Havai. Lechon Shmei. Seit sich geben Bruch was Sluche nach Mishpuche. Das geht mal und alle Jungs also Teugedel mit.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you all the listeners. Thank you, Rabbi Beller. It's a huge, huge, huge honor to be here. Huge zechut. Thank you for every moment, every word. I'm sorry if I asked the wrong questions. I want to apologize if I asked the wrong questions.
You didn't ask enough questions.
Didn't have enough questions. I know it's a big responsibility, but it's a big zechut. Thank you, Hashem, for giving me the honor to be next to you. Thank you, all the listeners. Thank you, Torah Anytime.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.